DeSales women's basketball consistently one of the best teams in all the land. It just seems to be one of those things that DeSales does so well with Fred Richter. He makes sure that his team is competitive, and he makes sure that his team is in the fight, not only in the conference, but in the national conversation. To talk more about it, joining us on the Huddle Hoopsville hotline, it is the aforementioned Fred Richter. Coach, first and foremost, congratulations on another bonkers great season.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much, and I'm glad to be on the show.
I appreciate it. I always try and figure out, when do I want to talk to you? Do I want to talk to you early in the season? That means we can't talk to sales the rest of the year. Do we want to wait in the middle, find a sweet spot? I decided this year we'll wait a little bit later, not to the end, but almost there. First and foremost, what's the secret in the sauce that makes you and your program so consistently good in what is an ever-changing MAC freedom, an interesting region to say the least, but also from a national perspective? This isn't an easy thing to do, sir.
Well, I really try to recruit young ladies that are here for the right reasons, and they're students first and athletes second. And I find that they become very, very pliable in respect to what we want to get done. And what we want to get done is, I try to recruit young ladies that are athletic. We like to press, we like to run. And when I'm able to put together a group of young ladies like that, we do very well. Now, we've had a tremendous run over the last 5 years. I'm very proud of the young ladies and what they've made our program.
Well, yeah, you've had an incredible run. That's kind of saying it lightly to some degree. You're having another tremendously great season. You're ninth ranked and the latest top 25, staying pretty consistent in that. When looking at your team in totality, 22-1, 13-1 in conference play. Your only blemish to a pretty good Stevens squad, who you only lost to 49-48, of course, at their place. You have a chance to avenge that, which is why we have you on coming up on Wednesday. Tell me a little bit about the season from a macro sense. How has the team been doing this year? How have things been going from your perspective?
From my perspective, it's been a growth experience. Our journey has included an exchange student from Ireland who we had no clue that was coming, and all of a sudden was in our lap, and found out that she's playing for the under 20 national team, and she's athletic, and she's 6'1", and she can run the floor, and she's a lot of fun to coach. And it's been our job to find out the best way to make her and Michaela Reese work together, which is easy. They're both unselfish. They're both pretty good with the ball, probably even better defensive players than they are offensive players, which sort of fits what we're trying to get done. And at their size, it means that they can guard and block shots as well. So, we're really blessed with them. We're also trying to make sure that our guards continue to grow. And one young lady who has just taken off is Meg Beeler. She has always been our best defensive wing player. This year, she not only is that, but she's just filling in lanes and getting the ball off of steals and breaks and running our dribble handoff series right to the rim. She scores a lot of layups because she's so darn fast, and her strides are so long, and she's just a focused young lady. Our point guard's a 4-year point guard. Her backup is a 4-year backup. Our other wings are very talented offensive players that have become very good defensive players. It's a nice mix for us right now.
Yeah. No. Quickly, I want to go back to Abigail Rafferty, who you mentioned, the surprise study abroad Irish lad. As an somewhat Irish myself, 50%. Good honor. I absolutely love this fact. The note I've got: getting better every week, adjusting the American game versus the game overseas. I'll get back to that in a minute. 8.6 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, and 2 blocks per contest. What is the difference that she's adjusting to between the American game and the game that she's so used to over in Ireland?
Well, first of all, on the national team, she actually is the 3 player, and we're using her primarily as the 5.
Okay.
They actually have some bigger young ladies, and she's
Sure.
Athletic enough to run a wing. And if you watched our game against Immaculata, she made a run for a layup on the left-hand side in the second half. That's it's hard to believe that she got there so quickly. Young lady has some speed. The other thing that she has to get used to is there is a difference in play. and she knows it. I kid her that she sets European screens, in other words, moving screens. So, and you know what that's like in D3 hoops. You
Yeah,
don't set a
no,
moving screen. You don't
no.
breathe the wrong way with certain officials, and that's the same for all of us. So she's had to learn to do that, and the hands off stuff that has become a big part of D3 women's
Yeah.
basketball. You got to play defense with your feet, and she's capable. I mean, she has some quick feet, and she has good speed, and she has her wingspan is good, and she doesn't have to touch people anymore. So she's really made a quick adjustment. She really has.
That's cool to hear. You're talking about Beeler, 13.5 points a game. She's 11th in the country in steals, second on the team in assists, third in rebounding. Usually takes on the best wing. You talked about her. Just some notes that we have on her. Michaela Reese, by the way, reigning defensive player of the year in the MAC Freedom. She was a preseason All-American. We're just mentioning her. That's the wealth of talent you have. You have a preseason All-American, plus you have these other 2 or 3 or 4. She's averaging 11.5, 6.6 rebounds, 2.6 steals, 2.6 blocks. Okay, she's not too bad herself. And there's others. There's Lindsay Welsh. There's all these other great players on this team. There's a lot of depth. Is this one of your deeper teams? I'm used to you having a couple of good players, but it seems like you might be deeper in terms of the top talent.
We are deeper this year. There's no doubt about it. And the 3 or 4 young ladies that come off the bench in every game, and usually by the end of the first quarter, handle the roles extremely well. Liv Scotty comes off as a 5'10" forward, and she can shoot the outside shot and just plays awfully hard and rebounds very well, despite some stronger young ladies that she has to tangle with. Lindsay Welsh has turned into a great shooter this year and an even better defender than she was last year. I'm just real pleased with her progress. And Amelia Saunders, the same thing. She has become a very, very accomplished young lady at the wing. Our backup point guard and her roommate, Maria Newsom, the starter, they're attached to the hip. They complement each other very well at practice and at game time, and it's a joy to be around them. It really is. They're a lot of fun. They work hard at practice. They do the right thing in the classroom. I'm really enjoying myself.
Yeah, well, you're in your 33rd season, and I would say, and this is no knock on any other interview I've had with you, you definitely seem more energized. You see, especially late in the year, that's not easy to do. This team seems to be driving on a different ship. You've gotten to the NCAA tournament 11 times. You won the conference title 10 times. You're on your way for a 12th trip to the NCAA title and certainly hoping for an 11th title. Is there something, we talked about the depth, but is there something different other than the depth about this team that has so many people excited? Well,
we have 7 freshmen, and they have been taken under the wing of the upperclassmen, and only one of them is getting some time, and that's Michaela Dunmoyer, McKaylee, and she's an awfully good player. But the freshmen started playing together in our scrimmage situations, and they've come about. They've really come on strong. It's making us better in practice. The neat thing about it all is they like each other. They do things together. They live together. When we do things, whether it be sports psychology or community service or whatever, they want to be there. It's a joy to watch them interact. They have great senses of humor. They get the old guys sometimes. Sometimes I ask them to take my things home that I tell them, and I don't even ask them to ask their parents. I ask them to ask their grandparents if they remember what I just tried to say. And they get a huge kick out of that because I span a few generations. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. 634 wins. You have a winning percentage of nearly 72%. 10th in active coaching in terms of success. Don't take this the wrong way. Does it get old? Is there anything about this not still excite you, or are we going to see you back? This is 33 years. Are we going to see you back for a 34th or 35th, etc.?
You certainly will.
Awesome.
I want it that way. My wife wants it that way. I can be a pain in the neck.
She wants you out of the house.
Yeah, she pushes me towards the gym once in a while, pushes me towards my bicycle once in a while. She likes the active Fred. She does, and
yeah.
And I'm just enjoying watching these young ladies progress as a team. It's been a lot of fun.
Hey, you got a big game coming up with Stevens coming up here on Wednesday. You've got a lead in the conference. We should point out over Misericordia and Arcadia and Kings, but you're tied with Stevens. This is a big game. If you want home court advantage, not only do you get the win, but you get to you get to avenge the loss, I should say. You don't want them to win and have, unfortunately, a sweep there. That puts a lot of pressure on Wednesday, does it not?
It does. Because our league is concerned about makeups, the game is actually tomorrow. So
I'm
Thursday
sorry,
is
you're
a
right.
makeup day. So,
No, I just can't keep track of dates, Fred.
And we're the 8:00 game because we're in a flip-flop season with the men.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a lot of heat from various sources because it's also Valentine's Day, et cetera, et cetera. But the bottom line is it's the same day time for both teams, and
Right.
and we'll be here going at each other. And as you probably well know, Meg Howie and I go back a number of years because
Yes.
Meg was actually recruited by me, chose Lafayette, believe that or not, and since worked with me a number of years before she became the coach at Stevens. She's done a phenomenal job, and it's always fun to go against Coach Meg. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I was going to ask because I know you two have a great background. That is your only loss of the season, the only blemish. You've beaten some pretty decent teams along the way, but they got you. What is it about Howie's team this season that gave you guys the most trouble, and what are you expecting and going to have to deal with tomorrow night?
Well, I think mostly it's our lowest scoring game, and it might have been one of theirs as well.
Yeah.
But we both like to get out and go, and we didn't let each other do that. We didn't. Neither team was an offensive juggernaut, to say the least. So we're hoping to improve on that end, and I know she is too. Both teams are more effective when we're out in the open court, when Jess Broad has room to operate and use her tremendous athletic ability. I'm sure we're both hoping for a more open, let's go get them, get some fast breaks, let's get some rebounds and go, let's get a couple deflections and go and play a little bit more open court basketball. If not, we'll grind it out because that's what we have to do. And really, when you come down to it in the NCAA tournament, the 80-point games don't happen very often because we're all grinding it out. We're all taking something away from the other team because we're all pretty good. That's for sure.
You obviously have another game coming up Saturday, so you can't overlook Stevens and you can't overlook Saturday because you get a win over Stevens, that's great. But if you trip and fall on Acadia coming up on Saturday, it's all for naught, especially if they win. So there's obviously a lot riding on this week. But is it the end of the world if you aren't at home for the title game?
The world will not end. Absolutely. We've won a couple titles on the road as an underdog and dug in and played awfully hard. So it's the right to be in the playoffs, the right to be looking at an NCAA bid as an automatic is really the easier way to go and play a home game for a championship. But a good team that falls and learns from when they fall and continues to grow and doesn't let those losses get to them have tremendous chances in our conference with the semifinals and the finals. It's we're going to play a number of teams 3 times, 2 teams at least 3 times if we get our way. And again, that's not easy to do, as most of us coaches talk about all the time. It's hard to beat somebody 3 times. Having a rubber match after being 2 down, do you have an advantage because you want it more than they do? Then we get into the whole sports psychology thing, and depending on how much your kids buy into it, young ladies buy into it. It's something that we continue to monitor and hope that we can gain their attention and play the way we want to play.
I'm curious from another perspective on this. This conference continues to ebb and flow in the last few years. The entire MAC's about to lose Lycoming and Wilkes to the Landmark. Just after Lycoming was brought into the Freedom, you'll lose them. Now Lev Val is coming in. Don't get me started. I don't understand that decision. It's been ebb and flow. It's been ultra changing. I know the conference schedule doesn't change for you. That doesn't completely throw things into a mix. But is it hard to get used to what you're going to do every season when you're already dealing enough without a conference stuff? Your conference keeps changing?
I'm not that worried about it. It started when the Landmark started and people started making their football conferences and their high expectation academic stuff and left the conference. We we roll with the punches. 26 years ago, we got into the MAC, and we're just glad to be in that conference. In the meantime, yes, I think our conference actually is with Lev Val and Di Decker coming over, and Arcadia, coming into the season with some good recruits, and Jackie does a nice job with them. I think our side in the long run might be better off than we were before. I'm hoping to keep some stability with that. And now we don't have that dreaded bye during the season where, you might have a week off at prime time. We were lucky to get Immaculata on our schedule for this past Saturday. So well, as they say, it is what it is. We sort of roll with the punches and get prepared. And that's my job. I like the preparation part.
No, you're right. The Freedom will certainly be a more interesting conference next year. I don't understand some of the decisions, but I digress. We don't need to dive into that rabbit hole. I can do it some other time. Fred, I appreciate the time to talk about your Bulldogs. Really impressive team. As always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuned in?
Well, my journey's been a lot of fun, and you might be right. I might be enjoying it more than I ever have. And that's the joy of dealing with young people who have the right idea about life, doing the best they can on the floor and being part of the team, but also getting their education and becoming the nurses and the doctors and the lawyers that they become. It's a joy. It's a passion I have.
Well, it's clearly evident, and much respect for the success you've had, but I know the graduation and all that is important too, so tip of the hat on the true D3 model. Fred, take care. Enjoy the rest of the season. Have fun against Coach Howie tomorrow night, and we'll look forward to talking about the Bulldogs and talking to you down the road.
Thank you very much. I really do appreciate your time.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you for yours. Fred Richter joining us on the Huddle Hoopsville Hotline. Again, really good team. Really big game tomorrow night on Tuesday against Stevens. That should be a fun one to watch. Go ahead and tune into that one. That'll be at DeSales, so it'll even be better in the bandbox, as it were, of their gym. I love their place.